Let's assume you found the right outfitter, the right professional hunter for you, and a great area with good populations of buffalo. You've now traveled halfway around the world to take a shot on a buffalo, and in the next 10 to 14 days, your PH should get you a shot at a good mature buffalo. I've often been asked what the average shot is on a buffalo. Now, it all depends on where you're hunting. If you talk to somebody who's doing forest hunting, they're obviously going to be shooting buffalo a hell of a lot closer. If you talk to somebody who's from Maasai, I'm sure they're going to say that the average shot is a little bit longer. But overall in Africa, I think the average distance that a buffalo is shot at is probably about 60 yards. There's no doubt that buffalo are mean, tough, heavy-boned, thick-skinned animals. A shot in the right place with an adequate caliber and a well-constructed bullet, you can kill any buffalo. They are tough, but they are not indestructible. I've seen a lot of buffalo shot with big calibers, and a lot of people think that a buffalo shot with a big heavy caliber is going to knock it off its feet. That very rarely happens. There are only two ways to knock a buffalo off its feet. The first way is a brain shot, and the second way is to shoot it in the spine. Both will knock a buffalo straight off its feet. I've seen way too many hunters over the years put in a shot on a buffalo and think it is a good shot and stand there and admire their shot. There's a very small window that you have got after your first shot to put in as many backup shots as possible before that buffalo gets into thick cover. Now, once he gets into that thick cover, you're on his terms. Now, one of the more controversial topics that us PHs talk about is backup shots. There are a lot of clients that come over that want a backup shot, and there are some that don't want one at all. I think I speak for most professional hunters when I say that our perfect safari would be for us not to fire a single shot out of our rifles, not to follow up any dangerous game into any thick cover, for all the animals to go down one shot kill. But over the years, I've realized that that's not the reality. One of the most important jobs as a professional hunter is the safety of our team, the trackers, the professional hunter himself, and most importantly, the client. We're faced with dangerous animals every single day of our lives out there, and we want to come back out the bush safe every single day. And that is the reason why we carry big calibers. Unfortunately, every year you get clients who arrive and say that under no circumstances, unless somebody is getting killed or run over, do they shoot at their animal. By doing that, you have just been marked as a problem client. Majority of the time when you're hunting buffalo, it's in heavy cover, it's in thick jess, and it's not always possible for the professional hunter to see exactly where your bullet has hit. We sometimes have milliseconds to decide whether or not the shot was good and whether or not it needs a backup shot. If on your hunt, your professional hunter does back up on your buffalo, don't be mad at him. 90% of the time, your shot, the client's shot, has been the kill shot. Enjoy the memory, enjoy the moment, and enjoy the adventure that you've got. You've just traveled halfway around the world and you finally got your buffalo. This is a time for celebrating. It's not time for finger pointing. You're on the plane now flying over towards Africa. You're thinking about all the positions that your buffalo is going to be at. He's going to step out the brush, look at you frontal. He's going to be feeding with his head down, broadside, running, quartering away. You're trying to envision what you're going to have when you get there. And buffalo can present a lot of different shots. Now let's go through the classic buffalo shots. You've got a buffalo feeding, head down, 60 yards, broadside. That is what we all dream of. That's the classic broadside shot. The main target on your classic broadside shot is the heart and the lung. Now, if you run straight up the front leg, third of the way up, you're going to take out the heart, possibly front of the lung as well. If you drop just behind the shoulder into the crease, you will take out both lungs. Both these shots on a buffalo are very, very good. The reaction of your buffalo, shot either heart or lung, will haunch up and take off in the direction that he is facing. It will result in a very short follow-up, and the buffalo will leave a very good blood trail to follow. In my estimation, the classic broadside shot is prize one.
The buffalo tracks were about 2 days old, so I had an idea that they would be a long way ahead of us, but I knew that at this time of the year there's so much water and food around that the buffalo don't move very far at all.
Talking to Lynn, it was difficult to ascertain just how far this herd had moved. The tracks probably 2 days old, but they could have been farther than that or perhaps closer. We didn't know. But Lynn felt that we should give them a try. And by this time, Lynn's professionalism, attention to detail, which I think is extraordinary, made me feel very confident that we had a chance.
We followed them for about 3 or 4 hours before all of a sudden we heard a buffalo bellow in the distance. We got the wind right and we got into a good position to try and locate where these buffalo were that we could hear ahead of us. Once we got onto them, I realized that this was not the same herd we'd been following. This was another herd that had crossed our path. However, these buffalo were just ahead of us, so we stuck with them.
It wasn't long before we caught our first glimpse of them. They were across the valley, and as I understood what Lynn told me later, we were really looking at the tail end of the herd.
Once we caught up with them, the trick now was to try and select the oldest bull out of the herd.
Lynn decided that we needed to flank them, keeping the wind always in mind, and we managed to do that.
We got amongst them a couple of times, but were unable to take a shot.
And then all of a sudden, we came right up on the front of the herd, within 30 yards. So we were caught in the open, 30 yards from the herd. We simply had to freeze. So as we're watching them, it becomes noontime siesta for them, and they lay down.
We ended up sitting, waiting for them to stand up and start feeding again for about 3 to 4 hours. About 4 o'clock that afternoon, they finally decided they were going to get up and start feeding again. However, we were right in position. We were right amongst them at this time, and we had a good view of them all. Finally, right at the back of the herd, The old bull that we'd been looking for stepped out. After a little bit of discussion, we decided that this was the one we were going to take.
If you've got to take the shot.
There was no way that we could put shooting sticks up. They were too close. So he simply helped me edge up to a tree where I was able to take a shot.
That's a dandy, sir. Well done. Thank you. You're a nice bull. give him a minute. Congratulations. That's great. It's a long way, wasn't it?
Fantastic day, fantastic stalk, and the old boy we were looking for.
Buffalo senses are very, very good. And like I've said before, often you're going to be in thick brush. And if they sense you, they see you, they smell you, quite often they're going to turn and face you to see what's coming. That's when you will be presented with a frontal shot. So let's discuss the frontal shot on a buffalo. The frontal shot is not my most favorite shot, but if you are presented with a frontal at a good distance and you are comfortable and confident that you can make the shot, it is a very lethal shot. If you place the bullet center of the chest, slightly low, that will take out the heart. Whether it's the heart or the top of the heart, it will. Slightly higher, you may hit the spine. The problem lies is if you drift slightly left or slightly right, you're going into no man's land. Now that's where you'll be faced with a problem. My only advice to anybody taking a frontal shot is be absolutely sure that you are placing your shot in the center of the animal. If you are not 100% sure, give it a couple of seconds and see if that buffalo turns or quarters towards you or away from you. The next shot we're going to talk about is the brain shot. Now this shot is very, very rarely taken and should not be taken. But there are very rare cases where it can be. The reason why we do not like to take a brain shot is because if you do not center punch the brain, you have basically ended your safari with an unrecovered buffalo. The brain lies directly under the bosses. Now those bosses are very, very hard and can easily deflect a bullet. Below it is absolutely nothing. There are no vitals and there's nothing that will kill it. Now, if you do happen to center punch a buffalo, the buffalo will be laying exactly where it was standing. Now I have made the shot and I have told clients to take the shot in my career very few times, but I have known the client and we have been in the perfect situation where we were about 10 to 12 yards from a buffalo. It was bedded up, completely unaware of us, and the buffalo's head was still. And that is the only reason why we took the brain shot. Now, another shot that is often presented in Africa on buffalo is a quartering towards shot. This is a very, very good shot where it gives you the opportunity to take out heart and lung at the same time. The shot placement on a quartering towards shot is if you can find the space between the legs on the quartering shot and run up a third of the way, that should take out the heart and both the lungs. The reaction of a quartering towards buffalo shot in the right place, it should haunch up, just like I was saying earlier on the classic broadside shot. It It should leave a very good blood trail as it's punching the heart and the lung, and the follow-up should be fairly short as well. On the quartering shot, it's not always about where the bullet's going in, but it's about the line where the bullet is going and where it's going to be coming out. You always need to think about the angles, and you need to think about the position of the heart and lung before you take it. Another common shot in Africa is a quartering away shot. Often you're following buffalo, you get up onto them and they're moving away from you, and you're presented with a quartering away shot. Now, the correct shot placement on a quartering away buffalo is if you can position the bullet in the line to break the opposite front leg. That is the correct line. That will take out both of the lungs, which will result in a very short follow-up, and you'll often also have a broken shoulder if your bullet penetrates all the way through to the shoulder. One of the most talked about shots is the full charge. You often read and often hear that when a buffalo charges, its head is held up high. What I've seen and what I've experienced, that is not true. When a buffalo charges, its head is hanging a little bit lower than what people often think. The perfect shot for that is on the bridge of the nose. That will result in the bullet going into the brain. The last thing that we're going to cover on this topic is your insurance shot. Now, bullets are cheap. They're easy to come by. When you're approaching your buffalo, no matter what distance you're at, if you can see it lying down, you've got a clear shot at it, put an insurance shot into it. Break the spine. Put another bullet into its heart. Put another bullet in between its legs. 90% of charges that happen and 90% of mistakes that happen out in the bush is when you're approaching that buffalo, you let your guard down because you think it's stone dead lying there. That's when mistakes happen.
So we decided to go ahead and pursue this herd, and it was, you know, multiple hours of tedious tracking.
Let's just drop downwind and see if we can get around them. They've obviously seen us or smelt us or something. There was one bull at the back here, but let's just get downwind and they can try and settle a bit, and then we can try and get it.
We had been going for about 40 minutes, moving pretty quickly on the track, and came over a small little rise, and there were the buffalo standing in front of us. They caught us totally off guard and got our wind, saw us, heard us, and took off. So we'll just continue with these buffalo and see if we can catch them up there. It gets, once you get out of here, it is still fairly thick, but it does open up as you get up onto the ridges. So we stayed on the track for probably another 2 or 3 hours. The buffalo continued to go. They never bedded up. They continued moving, which was good in our favor, but we covered a lot of ground before we eventually caught up to them again. Once we caught up to them, it was in some really, really thick stuff. Tondi managed to spot them before they saw us. We got down on all fours and did a butt crawl approach to where we could only see cows and calves.
Finally we stopped and they were sort of crossing in front of us, and Richie was looking and trying to select or identify the right one. So I took the shot, and it looked like he took it hard, he buckled, and it almost looked like he fell right there. But Rich he raced towards that direction in a second, because in that thick brush, we didn't want a situation where he was going to get lost or we were going to have to, face a chase.
Come. Can you see him in the grass?
So when we got there, we were trying to look for the buffalo, but it was so thick. You could just maybe make out the buffalo was at a rock or a buffalo, and finally we realized it was in front of us about 15 feet.
I can't see which side his head, but he's lying down here. Yeah, no, I know. I can't see which side his head is. Go through there.
As we got to the top of the rise where the buffalo had been standing, we spotted the bull lying down in the grass. He was done, but we knew we had to put in a couple more insurance shots.
Okay, go. I want you to get in here. Yeah. Hit him again. Okay, come forward. Okay, come here. Hit him just in front of the front leg, in the chest. Well done, my friend. That was beautiful shooting. Beautiful shooting.
It's an exhilarating feeling when you approach the buffalo, you realize it's down, you realize that everyone is safe, no one had to do a dangerous follow-up, and it's such a beautiful animal laying there, and that you were successful in your goal.
3 hours of boredom and 30 seconds of panic.
I've got to say, once again, you did a fantastic job. Very quick, very accurate shooting. I mean, from the shot, I think he went to only about 20, 30 yards, and we came up and put another 3 or 4 insurance, and again, very, very well done. Excellent shooting, excellent job, and very nice buffalo.